Yeah, I want to put forward this story that's actually from a study that was done on it was done on mice actually, and but it has major implications for the entire human experience. It has major implications for, I mean, everything. Just how people treat other people, whether it creates good karma or bad karma. That can even last for generations and generations. Now, here I'm displaying a picture of Ben Hardy, and it is sort of indirectly related to this story because it's another example of how, injustice has been done through history. Um, Ben Hardy was actually the guy that built the motorcycles for Easy Rider, the movie that was out in 1969, the major cult classic. His name is unknown, virtually unknown today. Ben Hardy, the Black Bikers, and Black Chrome. They're the ones that actually developed that Easy Rider style in Southern California. With late 50s, early 60s, the chopper, the true chopper, which means you have a raked neck on the motorcycle. Now, you might think that's an unrelated story that I'm talking to with the whole human experience, but it's almost like this is the problem. They rewrite history and they don't really give credit to where credit's due. And I can tell you this: I'm neither a liberal or a conservative. I'm probably an anti-liberal, anti-conservative. If that's really fun to say what the hell my freaking political affiliation is. About the only damn thing I really believe for political affiliation is what the anti-federalists were saying when the Bill of Rights were put out in the Constitution. They says, well, the Federalists were saying that the Constitution really didn't need the Bill of Rights because the Constitution it's only spelled out what the government can do. Damn good thing we have those Bill of Rights because we'd be screwed right now, man. We'd be really screwed. I just believe in fair play for all kinds of people. And, maybe somebody's going to think I'm a bleeding heart liberal because I'm going to emphasize a couple things on this video. But like I said, I'm neither a liberal or a conservative. Neither one. But Ben Hardy actually developed a bike, Captain America. This is actually a symbol of American freedom. And the good, positive, free attitude that we have here in the United States. Whether you listen to the alternative media all the time and they scare the crap out of you and make you think everything's bad, it ain't so bad, man. Especially if we pick up our tools and roll up our sleeves and do our job, man. It will be fine. But let me put it to you this way. There was a study, and it was actually done on mice. Now, it has major implications for not just the entire human experience, but also even in the animal world. Where, sometimes you wonder, like, why an animal has an instinct, and how do they just know to do that? It's just innately in them. Well, this works actually for everybody, man. I mean, even though I don't say humans or animals, but in a lot of ways, kind of things work the same way in some ways. I'm not a behavioral psychologist or anything like that. I just realized that, yeah, we share some of the damn freaking things like, the fear responses and greed responses and, empathy responses or even narcissistic responses in the case of Hillary Clinton. Whereby, we care or we don't care or whatever. But our positive outlook and our positive striving and our doing good for other people has implications not only in our lifetime but in other lifetimes beyond us. And it actually verifies a lot of what Jesus said. I'm actually a major critic of many Christians because I don't think they actually practice it. Some crap practice it, most of them don't, I think, in my opinion. But, if you just want to play common sense, do unto others as you would want done to you. So good deeds are something to do because it helps the whole human experience, right? So here's the study with the mice. And it's like it just blows you away because it's like you couldn't believe exactly, how this thing worked. They had some mice, and not talking about the rebels here, I'm actually showing a gang, and I believe in this type of stuff in a way, but I wanted to show some colors that weren't in the USA rather than not be controversial over here in the United States and say, I didn't show this one or that one. It's all Australia, but it's almost like, and this is how like society tries to condition people too. They instill fear in people. They instill fear in people like you got the demonic preachers sometimes with their millions of dollars and their jets and stuff, and they're flying around and different places, living a lavish lifestyle, instilling fear, and there's actually like, you know, governments instilling fear, you know, totalitarianism, and it's almost like they just got to say something and people obey. Well, I kind of go along with the groups that don't go along with the freaking major powers. You know, I can tell you that right now. So here's a study on the mice. The mice actually, what they did was they used a pleasurable sound. And the mice heard this sound, and he says, well, that's a nice sound. It was like a nice, pleasurable melody, whatever, short little melody. But then, what they started to do was, every time that little pleasurable melody was sounded, they started to inflict the mice with pain. It was an experiment, you know. It wasn't something I did, but it was like they started to inflict the mice with pain. Then after a while, they took away the pleasurable sound. I mean, they took away the pain. And what they did was they just played the sound. And the mice would just shudder and grimace. Like, in other words, they were like going ballistic, figuring they were going to get shocked or something again. And you'd almost figure that, because it was almost like the Pavlov's dogs type of experiment. You know, they realized, you know, hey, you know, we'd play the music, the food would be there, they would salivate and all this kind of stuff, right? Well, you got to be against all these kind of yo-yos playing these games with you. That's my point. I'm not for those people, you know, that are playing these ruling games like the Illuminati, the rulers of the earth, and all these assholes. Now, some rulers are probably not screwed up. I'm going to tell you that right now. I don't believe all of them are freaking screwed up on the top, but it's a mixed bag. But let me say this. This is where it really got twisted. This is where it really got twisted. The mice that were the offspring of the mice that were conditioned with this melodious sound, when they heard the sound, they would like think, oh, I'm going to get pain. They were scared, or they felt like they shuddered and they got fearful and they were running around and shit, right? The offspring of those mice, who never even experienced any of that external stimuli or any of those conditions that the parents of the mice experienced, they still were reacting to the stimuli of that sound the same way the parents were. Then on top of it, it was even the grandchildren of the original parents of the mice that reacted to that sound the same way without ever having that experience. That's freaky. So that's like saying you do good deeds to people and you do good karma and you help people and your friend. It carries not only to that person, but to those good vibes. Well, that's maybe what I don't want to call it, because I don't know what the hell you can call it. Vibes. Those good vibes carry on to their children and the children of those children. Bad deeds, like something ISIS would do, carry on to the children, to the next children. They give them problems. They make them fearful. They make them, you know, they don't want them to come out of their cocoon maybe or something. I don't know. It could be anything. Now, actually, if you start looking at some of the experiences, you know, and some people think, you know, I realized, like, during the time of American history, when he had black slavery, there was super evil ones, and there was ones that were not, like, really evil, you know. But you got to remember, even this, you know, even the black experience in America, it's imprinted on the psyche of future generations. What may have happened because you don't even know exactly what happened, because not everything's written down, just like I told you with Ben Hardy, right? You don't know what the hell's going on. You don't know what, you know, I mean, you don't know the whole history of everything, right? We know pieces of history, right? We only know what's written down or what was told to us because stuff happened years ago. But it's actually imprinted on the psyche of even the black experience in this country. So sometimes, you know, you wonder why, you know, even dealing between races, you know, like you've got the thing happen in Baltimore, and you wonder why somebody gets well, I understand what happened in Baltimore, people get upset, but sometimes you wonder what's going on. And I'm not making excuses for, like, looters that just, you know, doing stupid shit, you know, But I understand where people should get really pissed off. But you understand, it's like it could be all the way an experience all the way back. Now, I know even the Irish were subject to a lot of stuff, and even slavery, believe it or not, the white Irish even, not well known. But, I mean, you also think about between nations. The times when the Germans fought the Russians and the Russians fought the Germans. And, what happened between Japan and China. And then, off and on. Or between, I don't know, the European nations and, I don't know, whatever. It's like, between like the Northern European, the Germanic, and the Romans or something, It goes all the way back. Some of these experiences are actually imprinted on people in future generations, and they don't realize it. Now, one good example, too, is what happened with Jews. Not just during, I know people are not pro-Jewish on YouTube. Well, it's a mixed bag on YouTube, but I'm telling you, I'm not a bleeding heart liberal, and I'm not, but I'm vehemently against unfair play, okay? Big time, all right? And I realize, the Holocaust, there was other Holocausts with the Armenians. There's the Christian Holocaust, again, with the Soviet Union, under Stalin. But, you realize the Jewish experience going all the way back has, going back to 69, 70 AD when the temple was destroyed by Rome, there's been a lot of times when there has been a lot of, major governments and peoples that were going against Jews and doing evil things. Maybe there was some Jew that was causing the problem to happen, but then it was like the punishment hit everybody, that was the deal, Maybe there's one guy on the top that was being a bad guy, but then, how people react, they always freaking react like idiots, that's what happens with people. But then, this has actually been the Jewish experience. This has been the Jewish experience. And you wonder why sometimes, people don't realize that it could actually be ingrained and inherited. This experience is actually somehow inherited in your DNA or your genes or something. And, they say DNA is like a receiving antenna and a transmitting antenna, and it has some type of memory. So there's probably memory of experiences, because if these mice experiments are showing that these experiences are passed on to offspring for at least a couple generations, it has major implications across the whole planet under religious, nationalistic, racial, everything. And you know what? You start thinking about what, I know, like say you're not a fan of Jesus or whatever, some people, I mean, I don't want to knock, I don't want to, I hate pushing religion, okay? That's what I hate. I hate pushing religion. But I have to admit, I don't want to say something like do this or do that. But what Jesus said, though, one simple thing, without getting into like I believe and I'm saved and all this, like some people hide behind, in my opinion. But if you just want to keep it right down to the simple nuts and bolts, so to speak, Jesus said, just basically treat people the way you want to be treated. He who's without sin cast the first stone. Hey, he was pretty much a liberal guy, in a true sense, not in a socialistic, communist sense. He was a liberal guy, basically, that's what he was. Or a liberal son of God, right? If you want to believe that or not believe it. I'm not going to tell people what to believe, and I got my, I just go by what the most important thing is to remember is how you treat other people. But actually, how you treat other people goes into the imprints into the psyche of people for generations. If you treat them good, it goes for generations. If you treat them bad, it goes for generations. You're a piece of shit. I got to say that right now. So, but there's also the thing like, you look back at the Illuminati, the ruling elite. I think this is a picture of the original Queen Elizabeth I, ordained by God. Actually, a lot of these monarchs probably weren't even anywhere near, for most of them anyway, were not anywhere near as some of the narcissistic Wall Street bastards we got today, with the only thing they think about is money. Talk about evil, That's one of the things, the love of money is the root of all evil. It's not money itself. It's just the love of money. It's the root of all evil. I guess when you're a ruler, you're not necessarily always thinking about money per se. You're thinking about, I'm the ruler, right? I mean, even these people that were Illuminati are probably nowhere near as bad as some of the stuff that we got, the quote-unquote Illuminati in the financial world. So, actually, this is Queen Victoria from the... she was one of the longest reigning queens. What's interesting is it was my great-grandfather, Evangelista. He was born of one of those dukes. He was up there, England, in the later part of her reign, and his son Dante was born there too. Kind of a weird twist on the Italian family, but I always it always keeps in my mind that maybe it's some experience from way back when, because that was my great grandfather and then his son, and I don't know, but I always have like a little bit of in my mind that the people that are British royal family aren't so bad. Some people think they're really bad. I personally don't think they're so bad. I don't know why, but maybe that's why. I don't know. Maybe it's just ingrained in me a little bit, too. But I also have to tell you that, how you treat people overall has everything to do with karma that lasts for generations. And, you don't have to be going around spouting religion left and right or telling people you got to be this or that. Just do it. That's the way I look at it. If your religion says treat people right, if that's what Jesus said, basically says that. Do unto others as you would have done unto you, whatever. You don't want to do bad things to people. You want to do good things to people. People have a problem, you want to lend them a hand, that type of thing. That's what you want to do. And the mice experiment says that it goes for generations and generations and generations. So it's affecting the entire human experience for, I don't know, hundreds of years maybe. I don't know. And this is really where sometimes people of different races or different nationalities or different religions, they quite don't understand other people. And you know what it is? There's other experiences from their forefathers and foremothers, whatever, forefathers, I guess it's a proper term, is affecting their actual way they think. Not even their experience here in their own lifetime, but it could have been experiences from before. So, actually you got to keep that in mind. That's something that I find that very interesting, because I'm going to definitely keep that in mind when I'm dealing with people, because I never realized that. I also realized that some of these radical ISIS yo-yos are freaking creating bad karma in the world, and I think they're like a virus and a disease, and they ought to be knocked out. They're bad. When you're doing that kind of shit, like the stuff they're doing. Sometimes, you have to fight for what's right. I'm not a total pacifist by any means. Not by any means. But when you have victims and you have oppressors, you need to fight the oppressors. But I don't always regard the, the king and the queen of England or something as an oppressor. Like, I don't know, maybe that's because it's ingrained in me a little bit, too. I don't know, man. But, some people regard all royalty as oppressors. I don't regard them as that. I don't know why. But anyway, I just also want to point out, so a lot of times, too, you take the good example of the Good Samaritan. That's a big story in the Bible. And, you could talk about a Good Samaritan today. I'll just mention his channel here, My Friend Pete, on a DIY auto school in Southwest Rod and Custom. You could talk about the big highfalutin freaking people that, actually I can tell you this right now, a lot of these rich guys, and almost, not a lot of them, all of them, that give lots of money to charity, there's a scam going on. They might say, I gave $500 million or $1 billion even to this function and that function. There's always an ulterior motive going on with these guys. They have another financial connection, and it's a write-off. And it's also a way to hide their money. That's still helping their business enterprises, because it's influencing something that can help them out in another way. Without them making an investment, let's say research and development or some capital investment some way, they give it to a charity. Now this guy here, my friend Pete, he's a stand-up guy that does a excellent quality work that'll last for many generations on the cars he restores. But you know what else? He's providing good karma throughout the world. Now I hope this guy lives a long time. Ben Hardy, I wish he was still around, man. If we had the right nutrition, we knew all this stuff way back then, he'd still be around today building custom choppers. But, it doesn't have to be, some highfalutin yo-yo, putting on a big air that, they're giving so much money to charity. Everybody does this in their daily life. The better the job you do, the better you act towards people, the better you help a person out in need. You're spreading karma not just for that person, but for their offspring and the offspring of their offspring. It kind of verifies a lot of what goes on, even with Buddha religion and Confucian religion and whatever. It verifies a lot of what goes on in religion. I guess religion could be good and it could be bad. I mean, some of these radical people are doing all this, cutting off heads and, doing all this stuff really bad to people. You can almost look at some of the old plantation owners like ISIS, for crying out loud, I mean, actually, I think slavery, the Muslims were some of the biggest slave traders going in the world, in Africa, too. So, but, the point is, you got to stand together as a unit sometimes against the bullshit that's going on and how they're trying to oppress you with, it's almost like the shrewdest bastards on the top, they know what freaking buttons to push to manipulate people. And they've been doing this. And they actually manipulate us against each other all the time. And they also manipulate us to make us think that the situation is hopeless all the time, which is something I constantly see as a theme in the alternative media. And also another theme I always see in the alternative media is that Russia's got it really good. And I'm thinking, wow, it's even more freaking screwed up over there with Putin and the mafia gang. And they're not the good mafia, they're the bad mafia. New Jersey mafia is the good mafia, okay? So, I mean, I got to tell you right now that, we got a lot more freedoms here in the United States than you think. And but the point of it, they're trying to mess with your psyche to bring bad karma, which will not only bring bad karma on you and enslave you, but enslave your offspring and the offspring of your offspring. It's actually, we have a will. That's something that behavioral psychologists don't want to agree with. I know there's conditioning and response, there's training, and a lot of the behavioral psychologist methods are, basically correct. But when you get deep down inside of people, people do have a will. And you can actually change the entire human experience bit by bit. Now, when you think you're defeated and you can't do it, you're not going to do it. And that's their game. But my whole point on this video is that the human experience is affected by all our actions today. Everything we do in life. Anything you do, good or bad to a person, not only affects them, but affects their offspring and their offspring of their offspring, if those studies with the mice are correct. It's actually ingrained in our DNA. So anyway, I like to give credit where credit's due to Ben Hardy. Ben Hardy, the originator of the chopper in the South, the real riding style that became popular culture. The lightweight Harleys, like the true choppers of the early 60s. But, it's like they rewrite history, they tell it a different way, they don't want to tell you exactly what really happened. And, the thing is, you got to remain free. To remain free, you got to rebel. That's really what it is. But when you rebel, that doesn't mean you destroy. That means you only fight the oppressors, and when you need to do good, you do good. But when you rebel, you also got to stick together as a group, because individuals will fall. You got to work as a team. So, I found this highly, highly interesting, and I don't know what this video is going to do for views or whatever the hell it is, but I think it's like an extremely important video because scientifically it is verifying what all these prophets have said all the way back. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb here and tell you I don't think Muhammad was a prophet. And I know that's going to piss off a lot of people, but I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think he was a prophet. I think that guy was doing some real evil stuff, and he started something that was evil, although the people that followed Muhammad aren't necessarily evil. It's a mixed bag. But, I don't think Jesus was the only guy that was telling you what the right stuff to do, too. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of prophets out there. But, everybody in their hearts knows what's right and wrong. And by you trying to do the right thing, you're affecting not just the person or people around you or what's in the today, it's affecting generations down the road. So you got to stop evil anytime it happens. Anytime it happens, you got to stop it. You got to stop it. If you sit on your ass and you let evil go, you're just as guilty as the oppressors. At the same time, people just got to look forward. It's like what happened in the past sucks. It's probably affecting the psyche of people that are living today. They have things that happened to their ancestors, but you can't freaking dwell upon that. You got to look forward as best you can. So I think this is a very, very important message, and in a roundabout way, it's religious, but without being one of those holy roller pastors that freaking say, "Now give me all your money" or something, and I can fly my jet to the next place and have my mistress. I don't like those yo-yos. But anyway, so just science is verifying a lot of religion in a lot of ways that you just couldn't believe. So anyway, just take it as that.